Nathan, I'm just enjoying my time here with you so much here at the United Nations. It's, you, me, our good friend Larry over here.
We're
just hanging out and...
mate. Oh my God! Larry's dead!
Oh my God!
Brenton, what are you doing with that knife in your hand in Larry's back?
Oh, hey! Don't get any ideas. I mean, I was just standing here, and this knife inexplicably was hurled into Larry's back.
Wait, just stand still, Brenton. I'm just gonna take some photos. Just.
No, just wait. I just grabbed the knife, and I wasn't doing it. I just decided to grab it, even though I didn't do anything, and lower his body to the ground, and then I just posed for the photo. Like, I swear to God, I'm not the murderer.
Brenton, you gotta run, buddy. Run!
I better get out of here. Ba-da-da.
Yabba dabba doo. Just sprints off.
Welcome to Classic Movie Banter. You know that podcast? You know that show where I, Brenton, and this guy, Nathan, we talk about movies that are 20 years or older.
20 years!
Which actually makes them classic, where it's kind of where we get the name from. And we talk about these films, and we throw in some banter in there for good measure, and we talk about whether these films still stand up today and whether they're still worth watching, or they're worth, putting them in one of those, NutriBullet things? You put the DVD, you snap it in half, or if you put it on a USB or whatever, and just throw it in there, and you just...
You watch that shit grind,
Yeah, you watch that shit grind into a fine powder, and then you carefully pour that powder, into the drain just outside your house.
I think it'd be just put it in an urn and just disperse the ashes over the ocean. Just be like, that movie will hurt no one else anymore.
Yeah, that's even better idea. Yeah, why not?
There we go.
Yeah. Done.
Oh, mate.
Done.
Tell you what, Brenton, this week, we're really, really ramping up the classic of the classic movie banter, aren't we?
How so?
Well, you can't get more classic than bloody Hitchcock, mate. One of the pillars of old cinema, It's been a while since you and I have done some Hitchcock, hasn't it?
It's been a while. I think Spellbound was one of our first episodes of this podcast. And here we are at 66, still going strong, and we decided to take it back a few years. Yeah.
You know what? This one doesn't have any bad skiing in the background, so I don't even know why we're talking about it. But,
I know.
But, Spellbound
what can you
aside,
do?
I think this one's still worth talking about, so...
I mean, if honestly, if this was classic movie banter, and then in brackets behind it was films featuring skiing only, I feel like we'd have about maybe... How many episodes would you say?
Oh, of films that featured skiing? I don't know, maybe a couple dozen.
Yeah, sure. That were 20 years or older. I feel like we could
That's
cover
our
that.
sister podcast,
Yeah, well,
Brenton.
tune in next week on our new show, Classic Movie Banter, featuring films with only skiing, and we'll get back to you on that.
Yeah, I love it, mate.
But anyway, Nathan, we're not here to talk about Spellbound and skiing because, fuck skiing. We're here to
Wow, okay.
We're here to talk about North by Northwest.
Yeah, classic movie, mate. You know what? We've dug deep into the Hitchcock library, and there are so many Hitchcock movies that you and I need to talk about, but I feel like North by Northwest is probably one of his most iconic. So it's one that you and I both also both haven't seen, so we're coming in with fresh eyes. Eyes are fresher than the freshest fruit you could possibly grab, Brenton. So I want you, Brenton, as Alfred Hitchcock, to come into my film studio, and can you please pitch me the movie North by Northwest?
All right, here's the deal.
Hi, Mr. Hitchcock. Nice to meet you.
Hi there. Look, I'm not going to do an impression of Alfred Hitchcock. I'm just going to just imbue me with,
Oh, okay. No, Brenton, put away the fat suit.
Oh, yeah. So, look, here's the deal. I really want to make a thrilling film, and I want to keep the audience guessing, and I want to make them question what's the reality and what's not, what's truth, what's lies. So look, I've come up with this film. It's called North by Northwest. Okay. Don't ask about the title, because I'm not going to explain it here.
Okay.
What I want to talk to you about is that there's this advertising executive who just so happens to get wrapped up in this whole plot that he is not aware of sorry, I just got distracted. To be perfectly honest, something just went off on my phone. Back in the room, yes, with the pitch. I'm back.
Hello, Mr. Hitchcock. No, Mr. Hitchcock,
yes,
put your foot back in the window.
This advertising executive gets wound into this plot, basically, and we're not sure what's really going on or whether he's telling the truth, but he's being told that he's someone else who he's clearly not. And he gets wrapped into this web of lies, deceit, murder, and thrilling escapades. This is North by Northwest, Nathan.
Ooh.
And it's going to blow your fucking socks off.
Whoa, okay. Mr. Hitchcock, calm down, sir. This is the 50s. We don't use that kind of language in Hollywood. At least not with open doors. Ha ha ha.
Close the door and shut the fuck up.
Whoa! Now that's how you pitch a movie, sir. Okay, so it's about a bloke and mistaken identity, gets swept up around. So what kind of things happen in this movie? What are are there set pieces?
I'm not going into it, but all I'll say is this. I'll give you a little bit of a tidbit. There's a scene involving an attempted murder and tending to crops in a field. That's all I'll say. That's all I'll say.
That definitely
Thrilling
piques
cinema.
the interest. That definitely has me curious about your movie, Mr. Hitchcock. All right, here's some money. And are we going to have any name actors in this that everyone's going to recognize, or are we with complete strangers?
You know what? I'm thinking that in terms of for me, it's not about the cast. It's about who well fits these characters and how I want to mold these characters. So, nobody sounds good,
Okay, sounds good. Unknowns are always a good time, so fair enough. Okie dokie, all right. Well, good pitch, Brenton. Very, very good pitch. I believe in the project.
No, it wasn't. It really wasn't, but that's okay. That's okay.
I'm sure that's exactly how Hitchcock did it. Like, it would be interesting, actually.
I'm not even sure how to... look, to be honest, I don't know how to explain this film, because I want to keep... I think what's the best thing about this going into this film is that you know literally nothing about it, and just go into it and have a good time. Nathan, let's get into it. I want to talk about this movie, and I want to talk about how much I enjoyed this movie. Yay!
Oh, yay!
Brenton
just like rocks up with like a little like happy face crayon, and he's just like, I like the movie this week.
So here's the deal.
Yeah.
I think this film's really good. I Hitchcock, just a mastermind of visual storytelling. Just someone that can say a lot with his framing and his the way he blocks out scenes using the camera, the actors. I think the performances are pretty good in this film as well. Mm-hmm. I think this film, I love that like I said, I went into this not knowing anything, literally knowing nothing. I didn't know what genre I was getting myself into.
Yeah, you got nothing, boy.
I had no idea, and all I knew was about the final shot of this film. That's
really?
all I knew about That's all I knew.
How did
about
you know
this
about
movie
the final shot of the film?
Because I knew it was I knew that it involved innuendo of some type.
Oh, right, yes, of course.
And
with the thing going into the other thing,
I'd seen the shot before.
Like, yeah.
But yeah, so that's literally all I knew, and I love going into this and that it was a thriller, and about this regular Joe that gets wrapped up into this. This thing.
He's pretty great, isn't he? The main guy, like.
Oh, I love it. I love him so much. I think he's I love because he's not. We've seen this story done so many times in Hollywood, especially in modern cinema.
Yeah,
and it's
time.
Always kind of this thing of this person freaking the fuck out over this scenario about, like, as you would if you were abducted. Like, I can't imagine how I would react. It probably would not be how.
He's so casual about it, isn't he? Like,
he's so casual. I love that. I love it how he's just kind of like. Yes, well, and he's so like debonair about being abducted.
He really is, because he's like some advertising like executive, and he's like having lunch with like his mates and that kind of stuff. And he just gets carried to the car and goes to some like fucking mansion in the middle of nowhere, some like Bond villain lair, and he's just like, look, I'm not your guy, but like, can I just go? He's just like, come on. He's so chill about it, and he's like, come on, we've all had a bit of a laugh. Like he's got such a good attitude. Even as the film escalates, he's still got a great attitude, doesn't he?
I know. And that's what makes him such a great character, and like kind of like that everyman it's that everyman quality, it's like this regular Joe that's get wrapped up into like circumstances that are like beyond belief, but at the end of the day he still always has this this kind of casual optimism.
Yeah, it is very casual, because he goes through a lot of shit in this movie, and he's just like, he's like, I guess I'm meeting a beautiful girl, so it could be worse, and I'm going around the country, so it could be worse. So Yeah.
And yet, importantly as well, he still has this class, you know what I mean? We say casual, but it's more of like a casual attitude, but he's still a classy motherfucker.
Okay, I think
you
we
know
need
what
to
I'm saying?
address the elephant in the room, Brenton, because you and I, we've done a lot of James Bond movies on this podcast. And out of all of them, this is probably the best James Bond movie we have ever done.
That's so true, yeah. Definitely.
It's
Without a doubt.
ludicrous, because this came out before the James Bond franchise, how much this feels like Bond. And not only that, how much better it feels than Bond.
Oh, gosh. I was so thoroughly entertained by this film, especially when you compare it to those other Bond films that we've watched that are like from just after this era. But man, like I was just having such a blast during this movie and having such a good time. And I enjoyed like even the side characters in this film I probably enjoyed more so than I do in most Bond movies. And I think as well that it has a better pacing as well than most of the Bond films we've watched.
Oh,
And
I don't know about that per se. I did feel it was a little bit long. I felt like there was some fat you could cut out there. Like,
oh, really? Maybe some fat, but I felt like in terms of pacing that I was always interested in kind of what was happening and what was going on.
they spent a little bit too much time on that train, in my opinion. Which, by the way, that train scene with them on the train with the girl, that feels straight ripped out of Casino Royale, doesn't it?
In what way?
You know when in Casino Royale when Bond meets Vesper?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, it feels exactly like that. Like it feels like so many Bond films today have pulled from this movie, like how they go to all the exotic locations and they're secret agents, and you know, and the main guy, he is very Bond like, how he's all classy and that kind of stuff. Like I feel like they're really taking a lot out of it.
I get what you're saying. Yeah. At the same time, though, is with these Bond movies. I was kind of saying this a few episodes ago, but I'm always kind of bored. I'm never really invested into what's going on. I feel like it's going for this thing that it's never quite really realizing, and that thing is kind of like this, like, you know, this agent that's kind of undercover or whatever, and it's like cool gadgets and things.
Yeah.
And I feel like, and while this film isn't really an undercover agent, it's this guy that's kind of in the wrong place at the wrong time, and whilst there's not really many like cool gadgets,
Hey man,
se,
you got the gun. That's a gadget. Because it's a special gun.
Yeah, that's true. But I just feel like this movie is what those other movies are trying to be.
Yeah, exactly. 100%. Like, it's trying to have that class, that elegance, like it has that bombastic soundtrack, like the soundtrack is like huge and like theatrical, and it's like very old school, and you really get dragged into it, don't you?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. I also, speaking of Bond, I do love his suit. He's got a damn good suit, this movie.
Oh, it looks good, and it goes through a lot. And what's funny is that there's some scenes where he gets it like taken care of, like he gets it pressed or whatever.
Yes.
So it's all like always very well taken care of, unfortunately he doesn't get to wear it through the entire film. But gosh, I wish he did, because damn, it's a good suit. You're right.
I swear that's the reason James Bond wears a suit, but the producers must have seen this movie and just been like, fuck, he's out in the middle of bloody nowhere, but still in a suit, and it looks so badass. And you realize he's in a suit because he just got ripped off from work. Like, he wears a suit for the advertising agency, so he just has had no chance to change this entire fucking film. Oh, he also wears like costumes like the old Bond does. Like, he has some disguises. I love the disguises he wears in this movie.
Yeah, there's one in particular that made me chuckle, I've got to say. And it was a good disguise. It was actually like, you buy the fact that like they wouldn't notice this person that is sneaking past them. But gosh, there's some fun moments. There's just fun moments in general in this film. Like, I was just thoroughly
entertained. It is very fun,
like,
isn't it?
Definitely.
Yeah. Beautifully shot as well. Like, the stuff at the UN was gorgeously shot. The stuff near the end of the movie, gorgeously shot. Like, it was tense as well. I actually genuinely felt tension in this movie. Which is, it's compared to bloody Court Jester from last week, tell you what, like, you couldn't ask for a...
Hey, there was tension in Court Jester. I mean, come on, did you not see when the midgets bloody past the
yeah, man, I was biting my nails like nothing else. Like, oh, it's great. One thing I do just like about him is that he's got the worst fake tan I think I've ever seen in a movie.
Oh gosh, like it's pretty bad, and it's pretty bad watching it, I guess, on like our modern digital devices in the sense of it really shows up this I don't know what it is, whether it's a fake tan or whether it's just like this makeup that they've used on this man to kind of sculpt him into this.
Jesus, that's another thing. He's so old in this movie, and especially in juxtaposition to the girl, the femme fatale that he's with. Like, their age gap is insanity.
Yeah, that is true.
Because I remember, like, the movie keeps on pushing them together as, like, this romantic interest. And I'm like, oh, he could be her father. I'm like, nah, I'm not biting this carrot.
You didn't buy it, that relationship?
Well, that's the thing. Because, like, the movie, like, I feel like this is a movie that's better written than acted, potentially. Because, like, it's got that kind of old school of acting where they're all kind of just like they're all talking like in poetry and they're all saying these romantic lines to each other.
Okay, would you say that the acting in the Bond franchise is better than this?
Oh God no. They're all in the same fucking bucket. But like in this one especially, she is so thirsty for him, and you look at him and like they meet to maybe say 3 things and she's immediately in love with him, and you're just looking at him going, how on earth is she in love with this fucking orange?
Yeah. How is she in love with this orange? Oh, gosh.
So, like, yeah. And there were moments of the movie, just to add to the criticism, where seriously, like, I get the mystery, but I remember just sitting there in the lounge on the TV just going, what the fuck is going on? Like... Like, did you get this? Like, I just sat there with my little popcorn and my little juice, and I'm just like, what the hell's going on? Like, what is, like, because he knows nothing for so long, and he just keeps changing locations, and there's just more weird things that he gets into. I'm like, what the hell is this movie? Like, did you get that? Were you confused?
But I get what you're saying. You've got a valid point. But man, that's part of the fun of this shit, man. Like the fact that like that it starts as this one thing. It's like a good Simpsons episode. We start off in this one thing and we go to this thing that's completely unrelated, and it just escalates from there. And that's part of the fun of this movie, is that we cover all of this ground, and not a lot of it makes sense at first, but as things are uncovered, like and the plot is literally uncovered as the film goes on, things start to make more sense. And so you go into this final act where you're pretty sure you know everything, and still the film finds ways to surprise you, which is just always a blast.
I know, and I do. You know what? I do love the surprise of this movie. Like, I do shit on it a little bit for like, you know, not giving me any exposition. It's so funny. I never thought I'd want more exposition in my life, but like, I do like it that like when you finally work out what's going on, how trivial it is. like the stakes aren't really that high when it comes down to it. It feels more like a farce, if anything. It's just like he's like Mr. Magoo. He's like stumbling about. It's like what will he fuck up next? And he is an idiot as well. Like, I love him, but the guy's a fucking moron.
Oh, he is. Yeah, for sure. For sure. Like, he's a classy moron. He's a moron that, like, that just, like, you know, and like, there's moments in this film that he does take matters into his own hands, and they're fun as well. But yeah, you just kind of like, the whole time, you're
go
like,
home. You're so out of your league here. It's like,
and it's funny that the moment that things start to work out for him, I guess, in this movie is when he actually puts it into someone else's hands, and then he's actually informed of to what the fuck's actually going on. And I guess we can get more into that in spoilers, but I thought that was kind of ironic that this guy that's like taking matters into his own hands, he's you know, he thinks he understands the situation, which he totally doesn't. Like he like it's pretty clear at the start that he doesn't understand that what he's trying to achieve at like the first kind of 2 acts in this film is just like totally misguided.
Oh, it's so good.
Which is fun.
It's so funny. Like, the more I think about this movie, like, the more I see the good things I like about it. Because initially I wasn't in love with it. I was like, oh, this is long. Okay, they're in this location next. Jesus, he's getting on the train again. It's like, I hope he's got a bloody freaking flyer points. Like, I just wasn't having any of it. But the more I think about it, yeah, it does. It is fun. Like, this was like the most fun film we've done in ages. Like,
hey, Court Jester, settle down.
It's almost like, you know what? Compared to Two Hands, actually, there's a lot of similarities. Like, you know, about the hero who kind of like gets swept up in this world, and he just goes to all these places. Like, so some would say North by Northwest is the Two Hands of American cinema.
I would say the main difference is that the main character, while still they've got similarities, like this guy does not. He isn't found in this life or death situation due to a incompetence of his own. It's due to the incompetence of someone else, and he just happens to be in the wrong place at the wrong time.
He's not fucking up like Heath Ledger, so he can feel good about that. Like, Although I really wish in this movie he did have a bit of a sidekick. I wish it was more Indiana Jones, if anything like that. Like he has some like, you know, in like Temple of Doom, he's got that kid psychic and all that.
Oh yeah. Like I don't know. I feel like he doesn't need it, and for the sake of the story, it makes more sense that he doesn't. Because every scene this guy's in, like he just owns the room, which is just hilarious. Because there's moments in this film where you're just like, you should not be in any like sense of power at the moment, but yet he just has a charm and a willful attitude that's just kind of endearing.
Good on him. I'm
Good on
happy
him.
with him.
Yeah, man.
You just want to like ruffle his hair and be like, oh, good on you, mate. Like by the end of the movie, you're just like, well done, you. Like,
in terms of the film, though, what elevates this above, I think, just other films that do the similar things or have taken this idea and run with it themselves. I think what still sets this apart and makes it, I think, I believe, a bit still relevant and still something that's worth watching, is that I think, again, Hitchcock's mastery in storytelling is just on display through the use of cinema, through his framing, through his
gorgeously framed,
through his choice. Yeah, through choice of shots and editing, like it's all there.
One of my favorite shots, I was going to steal this for the movie, was when he runs away from the United Nations and it's like looking down from the roof of the UN and you see him like go to the taxi.
That's it. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Great framing. Like, and when he gets into trouble with the UN, that shot, like it's a little bit like, you know, some old Renaissance painting of Jesus lying after he was stabbed. It's like, it's just great art. Like this movie really is great art. Like it's funny, how does this hold up compared to Spellbound, Brenton, when it comes to Hitchcock's work?
So for me, I think like obviously they're two very different films. In saying that,
there's both a lot of trains and New York Central Station involved.
That is true. But what I will say is that if I was to sit down and watch something on a Thursday night, as we often say in this show, with a bunch of mates, I would put on North by Northwest over Spellbound personally.
Is it the skiing?
In that sense,
what happens if at the end of this movie they went skiing, Brenton? Would you have just lost the shit?
I would have
1 star.
I would have stopped the film, put the popcorn down. We would have gone downstairs and like heaved the laughter out of ourselves, like because
we would have been like, hey, holy shit, he loves his skiing, doesn't he?
What would be hilarious though is that if like the effects hadn't improved, like he still was using the same shit like as he was using like back in the day, and it just looked the same. Like that would be even funnier. But hey, this is Hitchcock, so I don't think that would be the case. But again, like I think there's good performances in here, but what really takes us through is just that mastery of filmmaking. Like it can't be understated. Just like
you can so understand why like South by Southwest was named after this movie, because it is like such a landmark film, you know.
Exactly, and I think like regardless, because as we all know that Hitchcock has carved out his own kind of legacy in cinema. I think regardless of all that, what I walked away from this movie excited by was that I really just wanted to watch more Hitchcock, you know?
Tell you what, I think this is actually better than his other films I've seen. I think I had more fun with this and got more out of it than I did with Psycho and Vertigo and actually no, Rear Window is still better. But I still think this is extremely good. Like,
I think it's very, very, very good. And I think it's worth a watch. So my thumbs are up, man.
All right. Well, tell you what, Brenton, my thumbs are up with you. I'm trying to think. Like,
hey,
it is. I'm trying to remember how long it is. It's only like 2 hours or something, isn't it? Like, it's not that long.
Yeah, I think just over 2 hours.
Yeah,
yeah.
I think Thursday night. I think you'd get something out of this. Like, I do remember feeling it was long. So I would when you sit down, I'd treat this as if you're watching an old Bond movie. But if you got that in your head, then I think you'd be alright for the night.
Fair enough, but mate, I disagree with you entirely. I think thank the Lords that this is not an old Bond movie.
You haven't seen a great one yet though, Brenton.
Oh, fuck off. I'm not going to get into it again, but hey, this is what I wanted.
Yet. You haven't seen Dr. No. Like, we've been very selective as to which ones we've seen, but we're going to get somewhere better, Brenton.
All I'll say is that when I pictured an old Bond movie and what I was going in, when I was going into an old Bond movie, this is what. Obviously, I didn't know what I wanted out of that, but this is now what I know what I was looking for in that experience, and it provides it in dividends. It was amazing.
Well, very good, my friend. Well, we're both giving our thumbs up, so shall we spoil this movie?
Spoilers! Spoiling the movie, yeah.
Oh my goodness. There's a lot of shit that happens in this movie, and it's great. I want to talk about the start of this movie because, you know, you get these great opening credits, and you get your Hitchcock cameo. Did you spot Hitchcock in the movie?
I did straight away.
I love that Hitchcock chose for himself for his big cameo in this movie to just get rejected by a bus. Like
it's great, and his head just turns to the camera, like bloody great.
Bloody buses in New York, I tell you what. It's great though. It's just like, oh, Hitchcock. I wish the film ended where it cuts back to the bus stop and it's like nighttime and Hitchcock's still there, and he's just like, oh, buses, like, oh,
fuck's sake, yeah.
But what did you think of the interrogation scene where he gets bloody swept up from his mates and goes to this like mansion?
Again, it can't be understated how awesome that how awesome that whole abduction element of the film, and how easy just he handles that moment. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's just so cool, calm, and collected, and just so, hey, what's going on? All right, well, yeah, you better let my friends know, because you let them know I've been abducted. You know, because this is just, you know, and it's so great.
It's so perfect. I love it when the guard pours him the bourbon, and like he pours him a fuckload of bourbon. Like he like fills up the glass, and I'm like, oh, are they just trying to put him to sleep or something? And I realized later on they're trying to make him drunk, and it was great when like he abducts that car by the cliff, and he's like just driving about. It's like, oh, it's a good chase scene, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that whole that whole first act of the film, I think, is quite strong. I love where it goes. I love that we go with this mystery aspect, because I was not expecting him to be abducted in the first scene of this film.
No,
I was not expecting him to walk. He sat down with his friends, and I was like, "What's going on in the land of accounting?" To be honest, like going to this film, I was like, "All right, so here's this guy that's kind of stuck in a rut. Like it's like he's going through this every day. He's kind of oblivious to the world around him, and kind of, I guess, maybe other people's feelings a bit." Where I thought it was going was that I saw this guy that was kind of stuck in a rut. He was like an everyday man, and he was just going through his day-to-day life, and maybe he was a bit inconsiderate of people's feelings. And I was like, "Oh, are we going to do a bit of a character study on this guy, and like what's going to get him to rejuvenate?"
No.
And like no, he just gets fucking abducted, which it is. No, but that's what it is, the film. I was kind of right.
Oh, he does change. He does grow over
He does
it.
change, and he does mention at the end that, like, you know, my ex-wives, like, they all said that I was too boring, basically.
Oh.
And so, like, he does.
I love that.
Change.
I love that when he's at the airport and he's like, "Hey, and he's like complaining to the CIA, and he's like, "Look, I've got 2 ex-wives I've got to take care of. Like, I've got a barman who depends on me." You're just like, I fucking love this guy's life. Like, good on him.
I really enjoy this character, and talking to you, what I'm taking away from this review right now is how much, like, I actually really love this character that's in this film, and how funny and fun this guy is, and
he seems so much more genuine than Bond, because he's not some like trained spy. He's a little bit like the Pink Panther. He's just like this guy that's way out of his league and is just kind of just stumbling about.
Totally. And then what's fun about this film is that this stumbling guy, thinks he understands what's happening and decides to take matters into his own hands, and which he kind of has to do to get himself out of the situation he's in. And he starts going out on, I guess, like missions and whatnot, and like going to like try and achieve things. And
he takes it on his stride, because they tell him like, "Oh, no, you're obviously this like other guy," and he's like, "No, I'm not this other guy." And they're like, "Yeah, you are, and you're going to do this mission for us." And he's like, "No." And obviously they get him drunk, and for some reason he like has the time to have a trial the next day, despite the fact he was like pulled over for drink driving. And he's
How much fun is it that his mum comes on an adventure with him, like at the start of this movie?
I love it, Brendan. Oh, it made my night when because you think she's just gonna rock up and say you're a fucking idiot, then walk away, but it just brings her along, and she's just giving him shit the whole time. I love his mother.
Yeah, when he goes to the guy's room that he's being framed as, and he goes up to the room, and she comes up with him, and then they leave the space, and there's 2 hitmen with him, and he nods to them like. They're in the elevator, and nods to her like, "These are the guys that are going to come kill me." And she just turns to him and says, "You're not going to kill my son, are you?" And then everyone in this elevator just starts laughing their asses off. Oh, and it's hilarious. And then it goes to that
and it's
shot
all these
of him.
close-ups of them laughing as well.
Exactly, and it just goes to the close-up of him, and he's just like not having any of it. It's bloody great.
He looks so unhappy. He's like, "Mom, my life finally got exciting. Go away."
It's great. It's so good. Like,
does this make you wish that like James Bond brought his mother along to missions, even though she's dead?
I wish there was a film where maybe he did. Like, God.
Oh, it'd be great. Well, that's the thing. He should have. It's like in Skyfall when you see Judi Dench like tag along, like because she's kind of like the mother figure. And so I love it in Skyfall when they're in that mansion and they have that big shootout at the mansion. They're preparing for it, and she's just like looking at him set up all the weapons, and she's like, "Oh, James," she's like, "You just get yourself into shit, don't you?" Like,
I remember I think it was like stuffing like shotgun shells or something like as booby traps with like shrapnel or something. Like,
that's right. Yeah,
yeah. And then
Judi Dench is like, I can help. I'm Judi Dench.
Mate, Judi Dench can help me do anything.
Oh,
like,
imagine
seriously.
if Judi Dench was the mother in this movie. Oh, it would have been so good.
Holy shit! Well, you know how there's the remake of Psycho.
Yeah.
That's like notoriously been said is like bad, doesn't bring anything new.
They just remake this, but with Judi Dench instead. Oh.
Dude, like if there was genuinely a remake like of this film, which by the way things are going, who knows, maybe. But could you imagine like Judi Dench as his mother, like as like that small side character? Who else would you cast in this film today?
Oh, as the main guy? I'd love to see Chris Pratt. I reckon Chris Pratt would do a good job as the main guy.
Chris Pratt's not bad. Yeah, that's
but
a good,
like
that's a
old
good
Chris
shot.
Pratt, like Parks and Rec Chris Pratt, where he was a little bit chubby, where he's a little bit out of his league, or he's like the action star today, or even like like I don't know, like McLovin or something like that, or like.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know. Part of me is actually thinking at the moment Brad Pitt, like someone that's just kind of brings this kind of charm and this.
I feel like he needs to be like an ordinary bloke though, like someone really.
But this guy is. I would say that this guy is kind of old Hollywood. He's not like an ordinary guy. Like he plays an ordinary guy, but he's got this. He's got this otherworldly like class and attitude towards things. That he's not so much an ordinary guy. And I think Chris Pratt might have the gravitas to do it, but part of me is like Brad Pitt would be pretty cool to like see as this character, and I feel like he's the right age as well.
I think he'd do a great job. I think, I'd 100% get around this. Like with a big budget today and maybe more locations across America. Like, I'd 100% get around it. Like, because I wasn't watching this movie and being like, oh, wow, if only that was made today. Like, wow, this is so outdated. It's like...
Neither was I. I just thought there was a fun conversation to bring up in the middle of this.
Oh, just for casting, it's like, yeah, it's so good. Like, maybe they can fix a couple of things with this movie if they did remake it. Like... I understand, actually, the stuff I didn't believe in this movie. Like, how the hell does he get access to the United Nations ambassador when he goes to the UN? Because he rocks up at the building and no one bats an eye. He just mentions some bloke's name and he's immediately, like, taken up with all the delegates. It's like...
Hey, man, it's the 50s, man. It's like...
They just let anyone in. It's like, it's United Nations. Like, mind you, early United Nations, but still, like, you can't just waltz on up and drop one bloke's name and then suddenly just go into their office. It's like...
How is it that one ambassador literally gets murdered for like no reason? Like he's like, hi, like
yeah, it's never explained. Like,
he gets murdered because like some henchman of some guy that they were using his house for, like to just for a little plot and like to have somewhere to like hang out, I guess.
Yeah.
End up killing this guy because this other person who's like this guy's not connected. This ambassador's not connected to what's going on at all, and they kill him because like this other guy's questioning him, and it's like, oh man, he might figure it out. And so they like, and so yeah, and that was the joke that we did at the start of this podcast. He literally gets knifed, and our good friend Roger Thornhill grabs the knife out of this guy's back, which is like if you want to look like innocent in anything, like. You know, don't grab the knife that's like hanging out of, you know, this guy's back. And then everyone instantly just turns around. And like my favorite again is that we made fun of it at the start. Like the camera just comes out of nowhere.
Yeah, the guy just got this like big flash.
And I guess it's not really out of nowhere because it is the UN, but it's still funny. Like it's still a moment of, you know, the knife's in one hand, the body's in the other hand. I didn't do it, but it looks like I did. And you know what? I can forgive that in this film. Like I can kind of forgive it because this trope happens in other movies and it pisses me the fuck off.
It does because it's moronic because it shows that the main character's an idiot and it's like first off that guy shouldn't have been stabbed at all because like that dagger throw is insanity because that guy is like on the henchman's on the other side of the room and he hurls the dagger across the room and no one sees it and it perfectly lands in the guy's back and also which I hate about old movies it instantly kills him. If a guy at the United Nations was stabbed by a dagger you wouldn't just die like that. Like, you wouldn't just, like, immediately be lights out. Like, you'd be like, you'd scream, you'd be like, ugh, and then you'd like maybe stumble around for a little bit, then probably you'd fall down.
In actual fact, I think like knife wounds and stabbings and stuff, I think most movies get it wrong. I think like more people probably die a lot sooner than like what most movies.
Really? I thought like blood would be splurting everywhere, and like he'd be like, "Oh shit, I was stabbed." And
but also, like,
whoa.
If we've learnt anything from Christopher Lee in Return of the King, we know that if you get stabbed in the back, you don't make noise. You have a huge gasping sound of like as you get like
you just like
stabbed.
fall off a building and just tumble to a spike. Like,
yeah, I don't know. I just feel like there's a lot of like
that would have been so funny. Could you imagine the guy gets stabbed at the UN and he just falls out the window at the UN and he falls like Christopher Lee down into like a spike at the bottom of the building.
And then Ian McKellen's there just like, ooh.
He has the eye of Sauron.
No, but I think like in a lot of modern movies today, in terms of like when they portray violence and they show people getting stabbed or, you know, in the guts or, you know, wherever it is, that it takes them a lot longer to die than it would like in actual reality. But again, I think I can forgive all of that, what we just said about being in the UN, this guy grabbing the knife out of this guy's back and being like, oh no, because I think this film has a quality to it that is kind of poking fun, that is a bit larger than life and is a bit of fun.
Yeah,
and I feel like
it is very outlandish, so I can see why you'd forgive it for that. And like honestly, it doesn't ruin the movie for me, but I'm like,
no, gosh,
I'm like, come on, it's like. Yeah, it almost feels like he's having a dream where he's going to these exotic locations and like... Actually, you know what makes it the most dreamlike? Can we talk for a little bit about the train scene?
Sure, man.
Because he goes onto this train, he finally makes it on, and like this chick is like, I'll help you out. And then we realize later that she's a bad guy. But anyway, so she helps. So he meets this girl on the train, and God, this is the most forward I think I've ever seen a woman in a movie. Like, she is so blatantly wanting to sleep with him. And even he's taken by surprise a little bit. He's like, oh, okay. And she's just like, I love that moment where she says her name and she says she's unmarried and she says her age. She's like 28 or something like that. And then he says his name, but he doesn't say if he's unmarried or his age. And I like to think he doesn't say his age because he's far too old.
Again, this is a different era, but yeah, I think it's very characterful that he doesn't say whether he's been. And then it comes up later on that he was married twice, and
yeah, it's like, dude, you got to be at least 45, if not 50, in this. It's like, and here's this like woman in her 20s sitting on you.
He's in his 50s for sure.
Oh,
yeah,
100%. But she's still in love with him for no reason. I do kind of like that old flirtatious language where they're like, oh, I'd never make love on an empty stomach, you know. It's very like, you know, you almost want them to be smoking cigars as they're saying it. But, geez, she is so forward. It's like, there's no woman alive who is that, like, keen. And it's like, and here's the thing, what if he was a murderer, Brenton?
Forgive me though, but she's in on it at this stage. Like,
yeah, we find that out later on, but at that point in time in the movie, we don't know she's involved in the whole plot. So, like, we think she's a random girl.
But for me, it's pretty clear that she's involved in some way. Like,
oh, really? Did you guess that early on?
Yeah, I was like, yeah, she's in on this, like, for sure.
And that's the only reason she'll want to sleep with him.
Well, what's fun about that is that no, I think that's genuine. I think that part's genuine. I don't think that was part of the original job. But I think what's fun about it is that you see this guy that's like accepting all this, and he's just kind of he's quite dim-witted, this guy. But at the same time, he has these moments of this endearing action which kind of make up for that in a way. Like, you still want him to succeed even though he's a bit of a dim-wit in that sense. But and when he works things out, it's great, you know, like, because usually at those points you're working things out as well.
You are, and you're trying to work it out alongside him, and that's one thing I do love about this movie. Like I feel like the audience and him are kind of one and the same as far as who's working out what. Like, I guess you got a head on the chick, but like, I was genuinely surprised when she was working for the bad guy. I was so, when you see the note that she writes for the bad guy at the end of the carriage, I was like, what? I was like, what a plot twist.
Really? Wow. That's really cool though, that like, that you have that moment. I think most people will, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't think I'm definitely alone in that.
I just had a sneaking suspicion. I was like, like, this is all very well and good.
It was the shit kiss that gave it away. God, they kiss so terribly in these old movies, don't they?
My understanding was that was because, you know, obviously it's a different time in Hollywood, and there was certain scandals that came to light in Hollywood, and they were trying to show that Hollywood was still somewhere that was a safe environment, and so a lot of the kissing was like, you know, it was like, come on kids, leave space for Jesus. So it was all very like tight-lipped and like pressing your face against someone else.
Oh, okay.
So I think it's because of that. I think. Correct me if I'm wrong. Tweet at us. Let us know.
Yeah, let us know. Well, yeah, like, I don't know. I understand, like, the censorship part of it. But, like, even if they're doing, like, a light kiss, like, no one in the world kisses like that, Brenton. Like, it looks as though he's trying to suck the life out of her. You know what I mean?
It's Dementor's kiss, yeah.
Yeah.
No, but
exactly.
I feel...
Yeah. 100 souls. And then he just, like, leans in.
I feel like there's a... Again, for me, it kind of captures that, and this is coming from me now, and looking back, obviously, because it's an old film and it's from this era, but it makes me kind of go, oh, like, there's something magical about that kiss, in the sense of, like, because it's so unnatural, that it's like adds to this kind of quality about, like, old cinema, of that it's kind of, I don't know, it's like a certain magic, because, like, the shot used as well, like, it's all kind of always this kind of side shot, and there's this movement in the kiss and the passion between the characters, and it's always like this stringed orchestra that, like, rises as these kisses happen. Like, I don't know, it's very dramatic.
Yeah, it is very dramatic.
Theatrical is what I'd say.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. Do you like, Brenton, the tiny razor in this movie?
Oh man, it's I want one of those tiny razors, and that's all I've got to say about that.
I love, because he picks it up earlier on in the movie, and I love that, like, we're like, oh, okay, he's got a tiny razor. But then later on, he uses it, and she's like, oh, what took you so long in the bathroom? I wish he just, like, whipped out the tiny razor and just been like, have you seen this? He's like, could you imagine shaving with this piece of shit? Like, why is it in the movie? I don't know, but it's great.
Nathan, can we talk about the attempted hit on our main character in the in the fields?
Oh my goodness, yeah, because this is extraordinary, isn't it, Brenton? This is like the iconic scene from the movie, isn't it?
The crop duster, I think it is, that, like, comes down to, like, get him.
Because it's great setup as well, because there's that guy who lives on the local farm who just comes to get, like, picked up by the bus, and he, like, subtly mentions it. He's like, oh, that's so weird, there's no farms over there, I wonder why they're crop dusting. And you kind of get wind, like, oh, okay, maybe this plane's not what it seems. And, like, I just thought that they were going to, like, shoot something from the plane, like, they were going to, like drop a bomb on him and, like, I don't know, fire a bullet. But then it just segues to the best one take in cinema, where this bloke, in real life, by the way, is running down this farm, and this plane is right behind him, just like swooping over the top of him. It's incredible, isn't it?
It's a great moment, and it has such a killer climax, literally, when it crashes into an oil tanker.
Jeez! I can't believe that. I thought it was just going to, like, crop, like, bloody get the fields and then just, like, fly off because it missed him. But it just, like, gets decimated by the oil tanker.
Hey, man, it reminded me of the end of License to Kill in a way.
Yeah! I reckon there's definitely some influence going on there, isn't there?
Do you reckon there was some cocaine in those oil tankers? Do you think if they actually foiled some other evil plan that was being hatched?
They're like, the plane crashes into the oil tanker and the iguana just crawls out, like... and it's like, oh, this is the key to everything. Like, I knew it. Oh, but so great funny scene, isn't it? Like, just incredible sequence. Yeah. Like, oh, absolute highlight of the movie. Oh, another highlight of my movie. Actually, yeah, one of my favorite scenes of this whole thing is when he goes to the art auction.
Yeah, yeah, dude, what a scene, man.
It's so good. Cause you know what's going on. You know he wants to get arrested, so he goes back with the police. But it goes for like 8 minutes of him just trolling this poor art curator.
It's amazing. And there's so much detail in that scene. There's so much that's, like, put into it. There's the detail of, like, the fact that, like, he confronts the villain along with the girl that he's just met that he kind of fell for. And then there's that confrontation that happens, and then he realizes he's in a bit of a rut because the two henchmen are there to kill him. And then he has this moment with, like, obviously the art, the auction that's happening there at the moment. And so he kind of foils that, and he needs to get out of there, and so you understand that that's happening. There's also little details, such as, like, that's where it's introduced that the reason they're at the auction is because they need this, like, one thing, because they're getting the microfilm or whatever, that's how they're smuggling the microfilm or whatever is, like, inside the statue that they get.
Yeah, like it's some sort of microfilm, isn't it?
Yeah. So there's lots in that scene, and I like it as well because I think it's kind of like a fake climax of the movie. You think that we're heading like that there's going to be a big point here, but then it's actually just the beginning of like the third act. It's like the end of the second act and into the third act.
It's a great scene though, that art auction, because like I love it when like I love the crowd in this art auction because I think they get more annoyed than the art curator. I don't think I've ever seen a crowd more flustered than the crowd at the art auction. Like all of them are just old bats just sitting around. Like you could tell they've been doing this for decades and they've never had a moment of excitement in their life. And like, and as he's like, as like the guy's like, okay, this piece for like $250. He's like 1,000, and then he's like, what? And then he's like 100. And he's like, shut the fuck up. And then this crowd is like grumble, 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 and you can see them all turning to each other, going, how dare you, this man? And one old woman turns to him and calls him a genuine idiot.
Yeah.
I was like, Jesus, like what is your issue, lady? Like it's calm down, it's just an art auction.
Okay, it's serious business. Don't mess around, especially with that lady.
Oh god.
Hey, Nathan, can we talk about, is this movie Richie Rich?
It might be Richie Rich, because they both have a climax that ends on Mount Rushmore. well, here's the thing. Man. In Richie Rich, they've built their own Mount Rushmore, like Richmore, or whatever they call it, and it's like their own fucking faces because they're so vain.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Do you remember that? Oh, what a movie. What a great movie.
Dude, all I remember from Richie Rich is the fact that he had a fucking water slide that went from his room down to the pool. Like, that was the coolest thing as a kid watching that. I was like, fuck, like...
That is literally wish fulfillment.
Mum, Dad, what's going on with, like, our architecture, like, in this building? Like, please.
Yeah, they're having, like, brekkie and they're looking out the window. They can see their own fucking faces in the mountain. It's like, Jesus. It's like, could you imagine if, like, Bill Gates, like, just did that for, like, his family? Like, he would get so much shit, wouldn't he?
Oh, fucking hell. Like, that's why you just wouldn't do it. Because it's like, can you imagine the amount of shit you would get for doing that?
No. Like, well, yeah, I can actually. Because, like, you would just have reporters, like, fly over with their fucking drones and just take pictures. It's like, also, the head would look horrible. Like, I don't know if you've seen the heads on Mount Rushmore, or you have in this movie. But, like, they don't look very accurate. Like, you're not going to get an accurate face of you. You're going to have some rocky features. Like, it's not going to be good.
Totally.
Did you believe he died right at Mount Rushmore? Because I thought he did. I genuinely thought the movie had the audacity to kill him off right before the climax.
Again, I didn't think he was dead.
I was like, oh, okay. You thought like I knew there was something, but I was like, this movie could definitely kill him off. And you know what? I would have been all for it, because I would have loved it. This guy goes this whole fucking adventure, then just gets shot by the girl because he just triggers her too much.
I would have been more shocked if he did die. Let's just say that, because at that point in the movie, I was like, there's so many twists that I think that he survives, and this is like a setup. So yeah, but hey, how's the climax of this movie and that Rushmore thing there? But also like the climax of going through the bad guy's house, of sneaking through it, like, and then
it's great.
Dude, it's so good.
There's so many twists and turns as well. Did you think the henchman had turned on him at one point? Because he did.
Yeah. When he had the gun behind him and then he pulls it out and it's the blank gun.
Yeah. You're like, whoa.
And then he knows, and then he's trying to get this message to the girl to let her know, like, don't get on that plane. They're going to, like, throw you out of it. And then on top of that, again, when he gets caught by the housekeeper, and you hear the gunshots, and at that point I was like, holy fuck, what's happened? Is he killed her? And then I realized that when he says it was the same, it was your silly gun again, I thought that was the funniest shit, like, ever. I was like, that's the best way to, like, end that kind of, that moment in the film, is that, like, she tries to shoot him and it's the blank gun again. Like, just perfect.
It's just great. Like, I love that whole house sequence. I love how he's, like, climbing up around the edge of the house as well, and he, like, almost falls, and you're just like, geez, like, this guy, like, he's been through so much. It's like, bless him for sticking in. I can't believe, though, when they actually do get around to Mount Rushmore, like, the woman, like, she's climbing Mount Rushmore in high heels. I'm like, lady, you should be dead.
Hey, at least she slips. At least they keep it consistent.
I know.
She does.
I was like, when she slips, I was like saying to him, just let her go, let her fall. Like,
Nathan.
What she deserves for climbing this thing in heels, I tell you what. Like, it's like bloody watching Jurassic World all over again with Bryce Dallas Howard in her heels.
And then that leads us to the end of the film, which is, I gotta say, like, what a great moment when he, like, reaches out and he says, come on, I'll help you, and then he lifts her, and it transitions straight to him lifting her onto the bed of the train.
And they're immediately married, and you're like, wow, that was quick.
Dude, I fucking love it. I bloody love it. And then
it's like 20 seconds. Like, the climax of the film ends, and then the movie wraps up in like 20 seconds. And it just screeches to an end.
I love it. It just goes boom and it's done. And he pulls her up, and then she says something along the lines of, like, really, is this necessary? And he's like, maybe not, but I'm, like, a stickler for what does he say? It's like, it's such a good line.
It's
it's
something.
like
It's very old Hollywood, isn't it? Like he's
Yeah,
like,
it's
no,
something
Mrs.
like-
So and So, I'm
he's
the
like-
best.
he's no, it's something like, oh, maybe, but I like, oh, what's the word?
It's that
Shit.
meme. Maybe, unless.
It's something like, oh yeah, he says, but I'm a stickler for sentimentality or something like that. And then the train goes through the tunnel.
Oh my goodness! And the most like sexual imagery Hitchcock could have like conjured.
Hitchcock, you naughty boy.
You scallywag! Oh, you thought we wouldn't notice, but everyone bloody noticed. Like,
I love it. I bloody love it.
what a great way to end the movie! It is a great way to end the movie. Like, because
that sums up the movie for me. Not so much the sexuality of it, but like that kind of tongue-in-cheek, like bit of a wink, like. And I feel like Hitchcock's got that going through the whole film, from his cameo at the start to like that final shot. And
he's
I
in
feel
like the
that-
editing bay, like watching the train go through the tunnel. He's like, ooh, he's like, tee hee hee. He's like, oh, I'm such a naughty director. He's like,
But like that's the feel of the film. Like that's like, and I appreciate it for it, and I think it excels in that way. And yeah, I just had such a blast watching it, man. So
yeah. Tell you what, bloody loved it. Brandon, should we talk about what stills this movie?
So, guys, if you don't know what we're talking about when we say what stills this movie, to be clear, if you go onto our YouTube page, you'll see in our little thumbnail and attached is two photos or stills, frames chosen from this film that Nathan and I choose. And we either pick these because they're interesting, because they're really great shots, or because there's something funny in them that we think is worth noting. So, Nathan, we've got a couple today. We each picked one today.
We both had a moment that we definitely thought stilled this movie, and we're both right, because the first one, the one that I picked, was when he's in the hotel and he wants to call one of the waitresses to come over to like go to the hotel room. And I don't know if this is a real thing that existed. I really hope it is. But apparently in the 1950s in their hotels, they just had a button where you would call, like, on your bedside table. We'd have like little pictures of the stuff that you wanted, and it has like a button where you just press it and they rock up. And like one's like a cleaning lady, one's like a butler, and then one's just like, I don't know, like a handyman. I just thought it was so neat. Like, do you think this existed?
Dude, like it surely it did, because
I've never
it
seen
made
it before.
like neither have I, but it's so funny. Like, what a funny idea, what a funny like close up to do. Like, that shot is just like hilarious that we see this, and then I love I just love it. It's such a funny idea, but then I also love that you can see his very tanned hand kind of sticking out from that.
No
Look
man
at
in
that.
advertising working in New York in an office building is that tan naturally, I tell you what.
Mate, it's like leather.
Yeah, he's literally more tan than the leather on our year one logo for classic movie Banter. Like,
Totally.
it's bonkers. And Brenton, I love what you chose for your still. It's great.
Yeah, so I chose this. This is a scene where it's after the fake the blanks have been fired out of the gun in the restaurant near Mount Rushmore, and the two characters have both escaped the scene and are meeting up again together after their little con, I guess you could call it. And they both get out of the car and they have this scene, and it's just this wide shot of these characters in the woods, and there's like the two cars and the two characters, and they have this scene across from each other before it comes in a bit closer. But mate, this shot is just brilliant. Like, it says everything we need to know. And it's just an example, again, I think, of, like, one, what a beautiful shot this is. Two, Hitchcock's framing and when it comes to character and storytelling. And, yeah, I just thought that really summed up, as I said before, I think that what really sums up the feel of this movie and what Hitchcock's going for is, like, those beginning and last moments. But I feel like this sums up his mastery of, like, letting us know where these characters are at and, like, what this scene is about.
No, it's so beautiful. Like you can see like the trees are like a metaphor for the like the prison cages that like they're trapped in, and I love the color of the cars, like the white versus the green. Like it's just it's a gorgeous frame, and I love like the way she's positioned, like with her hands in front of her. It's like art. It's like she's very like relaxed in front of her car, but you can see he's all tense and confused and back hunched. Great still, Brenton. Absolutely stole the movie. I completely agree. Well, how did they make this, Brenton?
How did they make this making movie magic? Yeah.
Okay, so I want to talk about the actors' ages, just to drive this point home, because I looked it up, Brenton. I looked up how old both of them were in this movie. So in real life, he's 55, Brenton. He's 55 years old. And in real life, she's 35. But in the movie, she's meant to be 26. So there's at least a 20-year gap between the two of them. But if you count the movie ages, then there's a 30-year gap between them.
Well, Nathan, speaking of ages, I've got a little fact here for you, which I thought was funny as well, was that Jessie Royce Landis, who plays Thornhill's mother, was only 7 years older than Cary Grant, who plays her son.
Jesus. Like, am I the only one noticing this? Like, this isn't right, Brenton. Like,
again, I will say it's a different time, and hey, man, there's those people in relationships that are that have got big age gaps.
Oh,
you know?
100%.
But I gotta say, like, again, like, I still bought this relationship. Like, as strange as it sounds, and as rushed as it might be, like, again, it's kind of that star-crossed moment of, like, these two lovers that are meant to be, I guess, and I bought it.
Great, man. I'm glad you bought it. That's great. Oh, I was more just like, ugh, like, I don't know. Obviously there's couples of age difference, but I'm just like, I don't know. It makes less sense that she just, especially with that age difference, like, they got to find out more about each other, you know? It's not, yeah. But anyway, this film, Brenton, it had pioneering credits, as it were, because the opening title sequence from graphic designer Saul Bass, it started as the first of its type to use kinetic typography, which means that the typography moves across the screen.
Yeah.
So hence why, like, you know, it's like I don't know, I didn't find it that riveting because it's kind of like in retrospect, in hindsight, like, it kind of looks like a Microsoft PowerPoint like transition. You know how you'd like make the text move across the screen?
Oh my gosh, yeah, totally. Had so much fun doing that in school. Gosh.
It reminds me a little bit of that, so I'm like, like, I'm glad text can move, but I'm not that impressed with it these days.
Thornhill appears on the left side of the screen for almost the entire film. In terms of the framing. Yeah, dude. Again, like Hitchcock. I don't know where he's going for with that, but like...
Why?
Why not?
It's just...
It's a choice. It's obvious. It's obviously a choice. I don't know. But yeah, I just thought that was interesting. But hey, here's another fact for you, which I thought was hilarious.
Oh, yes.
While on location at Mount Rushmore, Eva Marie Saint, who played the femme fatale in this film, discovered that Cary Grant would charge fans 15 cents for an autograph.
Really? Oh, that's so good. It's such a specific amount as well. Like, obviously it would have been worth like $1 back in the day, but 15 cents, Jesus. Oh, was he not being paid enough back then? Like,
I don't know, but hey, man, he was just making the most of it. He's like, fuck, if I'm going to sign autographs for the next hour, I'm going to fucking get paid for it, you know? Like,
that's incredible. God. Could you imagine just like today, like you meet, like, I don't know, Willem Dafoe on the street and you want to get his autograph and like, he's like, oh, sure, I'll do it, but you got to give me 15 cents. I'm like, but sir, we're living in a cashless society now. It's like, I ain't got 15 cents.
Yeah, man. I'd be like, Mr. Dafoe, please provide me your bank details and I'll transfer it to you right now.
It's like, also, I have Willem Dafoe's bank details. That'd be pretty extraordinary. It's like, you're scrolling through like your banking app and you got like your families and your friends, and just in the middle of it's just like Willem Dafoe. You're like,
Willem Dafoe. And then like, I would name the transaction, out am I?
Out of balance am I? What I found interesting was that when they were filming at the United Nations in New York, they actually didn't get permission to film on or near the property because the UN reviewed the script and they realized they didn't want a murder to happen at the UN. So the UN denied permission. So what they did instead is that they had Hitchcock get Grant to pull up in a taxi cab right outside the General Assembly building with a hidden camera crew behind him exiting the vehicle. So they got him go out the taxi. They quickly got the shot and there's this hidden camera crew, and then he like walked down. They're like, "Great, we got the one take. Let's get the fuck out of here." And they bolted.
That is really cool. What a cool fact.
Good on you.
That's
Hitchcock.
awesome. You know, when I hear like of that about filmmakers and with the lengths they go to get like the location and to get the shot, and when they're on the ground and you know it's like guerrilla filmmaking, you're out there, you just need to get the bloody shot. You know, that's the stuff that like just makes you want to get your camera and go out there and make some movies. You know what I'm saying? Hey, guess what? I've got another fact here. Cary Grant found the screenplay baffling, and midway through filming, told Sir Alfred Hitchcock, "It's a terrible script. We've already done a third of the picture, and I still can't make head nor tail of it." Hitchcock knew this confusion would only help the movie. After all, Grant's character had no idea what was going on either. Grant thought the movie would be a flop right up until its premiere, where it was rapturously received.
Wow. I love that. I love that, like, in real life, he's just like, what the hell is going on? Like, he's, like, having lunch with all the extras, and he's just like, does anyone know what we're doing? he's just like, what? I'm getting chased by a plane now. Because also, he would have filmed this out of order as well, chronologically. So, like, he would have been even double confused. Like, geez.
Yeah, totally.
And my last fact that I had was that the original traveling salesman character was written for Jimmy Stewart, the main bloke from It's a Wonderful Life.
Yeah.
But then they changed it to a Madison Avenue advertising executive because it was a role that the writer originally had. So he thought, oh, actually, I know a lot more about advertising. I can write about this.
Right.
But this fact got me thinking, this would have been perfect for Jimmy Stewart. I can so see James Stewart doing this.
Oh. What you say? What was that you said?
What are you on about those planes over there? They're chasing me. What? like you can so see him do that confused shtick that he does in every other Hitchcock movie that he's in.
Totally, man. I love that man. I think he's a wonderful actor. But hey, Cary Grant, I thought did a wonderful job in this film. So
he did.
I
was still happy with him. Well, hey, let's look at this film's poster.
Okay. Hey man, I'm looking at this poster and I kind of like it, I gotta say.
Mate, I think this is a brilliant poster. Like, oh, classic Hitchcock. It's like Cary Grant. What's going on with Cary Grant? Because is he fallen? He's been shot by the girl. So that kind of spoils the movie, and then it kind of goes down to them making out in like some like in the bottom right corner of the poster. So it kind of gives away two major plot points, doesn't it? And then and has a tagline on the top of it saying, "The master of suspense weaves his greatest tale." And you got some bloody squares going around it. So yeah, I don't know. I think it's quite good. But what do you think, Breton?
Oh yeah, man, I love it. I think this is a really visually. I think this is really cool in terms of its use of color. Like it's just black and white and red. And do
you like the face Cary Grant is pulling as he's falling down?
It's like is the sound effect I'd use.
He's got his hands out like he's got some jazz hands going on.
But what I was going to say was again, like we're seeing these old posters, it makes me yearn for that old Hollywood style of artwork that was the posters. And there's so much in this poster. Well, its use of like the kind of the like literal frames and like how they're used like overlapping each other, and then obviously you have that main image of Cary Grant falling, and then Eva Marie Saint in the background like shooting him in that blank scene.
She's got like a garden hose because like the jet is quite long from the gun. She's like spraying him down with water. It
creates this sense of like you're not really sure what to make of this poster, which again is what I guess the film's going for. So hey, I think it's a great poster.
No, I completely agree. I wouldn't change anything of it. Yeah.
So Nathan, moving on from there, title talk. Was there North by Northwest and North by Northwest?
What the fuck is the title of this movie? Why is it called North by Northwest? It has nothing to do with the movie.
I could not tell you, my friend. I could not tell you.
It's confusing. Like, I don't know if the direction he heads is North by Northwest, but like, I did some research, Brenton, actually. I did some research as to why this is called North by Northwest, because I couldn't make any sense of it. Some people saw it as a reference to a Shakespeare line, where he says, "I'm but mad northwest." And people were like, no, Hitchcock wouldn't have done a Shakespeare reference. And then a bloke called Peter Bogdanovich in 1963, he says, "Oh, it's a fantasy, you know, the title North by Northwest is no such thing, so obviously it's a allude to fantasy and all that kind of stuff." But the writer, he said, the reason we have this title in the first place is because we were originally going to call it The Man on Lincoln's Nose, because of the Rushmore thing at the end, but that would have been a shit title. So like, he's like, we'll just call it North by Northwest, and no one really knows why it's the title.
Dude, I love it. I think that's so interesting, everything you just said. Like, and it's like, I don't know. I think it's so funny that this title that's kind of got nothing to do with this film has ended up like, and this film has ended up being so famous and whatnot for this title. And yeah, like, I think there's something about it though that's catchy, that gets me into it, that makes me intrigued to watch it. So, hey man, it seemed to work.
Yeah, no, I was 100% a fan. So.
Yeah.
Like, it worked, and it's an iconic title, but like, again, it's not in the movie, and it's like, I don't know, would you have given it anything else?
Nah, I think it's cool. I think that's a cool story.
I don't know. I would call it Cary Grant's Wild Adventure. Like, I don't know. Yeah, I guess. It is iconic. Like
That sounds like a theme park ride, my friend. Cary Grant's Wild Ride.
could you imagine this movie as a theme park ride?
Oh, fucking, that would be off the chain.
It would
That'd be
work
off.
so well. It's like a VR simulator experience, and you're getting chased by the plane.
Nah, man. Nah, get rid of the fucking VR shit. What you need
It's a roller coaster,
your little
like.
cart going around, and you see like the animatronics of like Cary Grant, like like being like
Hitchcock being hit by a bus, just like.
Hey, man, shall we pass the power to the people? Power to the people. Let's pass it to the people. Yeah,
Mate, passing that power to the people, I'll tell you what, this thing's high on that Rotten Tomato meter. It's got a 99% from the critics and 94% from the audiences, so it's beloved all around. So, obviously, we didn't add that much to the conversation. But Jake Wilson, he's saying, from the age, he's Australian. He says, nearly getting killed never looked like so much fun. It's very true. Like, you never really see the trauma affect Cary Grant at any point in the movie, do you?
I mean, like, it kind of takes this whimsical look of like this horrible situation. So, I mean, Jake, you've got a point there. Like, it's so much fun, this movie, and yeah, I'm just happy that the audiences and the critics like seem to agree on this. Like that it just makes it. Again, I just think this film's a wild ride and worth a watch, and yeah,
great fun. What did Steve K say?
Steve K gave this 5 stars and said, a classic. Back when Hollywood could still write. Great male/female dynamic too.
I think Hollywood could still write now, and I think there's better male-female dynamics, mate. I don't know. Do you wish the femme fatale had more to do in the movie rather than be just the love interest?
Oh, she had more to do, for sure. She was a secret agent. Like, she was undercover. I think what he's coming from with the great male-female dynamic is like, it's that classic Hollywood kind of feel. It's that these two strangers meet on a train, and they're there for ulterior motives, but they still
this
find
film actually segues perfectly into Before Sunrise.
Yeah, totally.
Like the camera pans to like on the other side of the carriage, and it's just Ethan Hawke, and he's.
Oh wait, there we go. The remake was actually Before Sunrise.
They get off the train, they're just getting chased around.
You don't know this, but someone was trying to kill Ethan Hawke the whole time.
Oh, I knew. Yeah, the reason they're walking around the city, so they're slowly escaping like the killers. Like, that'd be great.
Yeah, the guy's giving them like the theater brochures as like they were actually hitmen, and like they failed.
Yeah, they're like, come see my play. There's a special treat at the end, and they're like, oh no. Jason C, he gave it 3 stars, and he said, a classic. I imagine if Hitchcock did a Bond film, it would have looked something like this. 100%. Like,
yeah, totally.
Oh man, I wish he did a Bond film. I mean, he did. It's this, pretty much, isn't it?
You hit it on the head, Jason C. I mean, yeah, and this is better than any of the Bond films we've watched. So good on you, good on you, Hitchy, good on you, Hitchcock. What a master. But Abhishek, sorry, I slaughtered your name. My apologies. 3 stars. This must have been an edge-of-the-seat thriller in its time, but I found it a tad slow to watch. Look, no, I disagree. Look, I really... I get what you were saying about the pacing stuff, Nathan, but like, honestly, I just disagree. I think this film is like, for its time and comparing it to others in its genre, like, I think it's snappy, I think it's fun, and I think it's really, like, always engaging and entertaining.
You can see it's not just me. Like, others are gonna find this film slow as shit. And like, I like now it's in hindsight, we're talking about the best scenes, but like, there are a lot of filler scenes in this movie that you could just like. You could even have the movie start with him being abducted. Like, you don't even need that like intro office bullshit that he has at the start of the movie. Like,
yeah, look, you know what? I'm gonna hold fast and keep disagreeing on this. Like, I feel like, and this is me, just, and I'm gonna go on a bit of a tangent here, but like, I feel in our day and age today that like films are, I miss this. I miss movies that are like willing to take a bit of time, because I really don't think this movie's that slow. I really don't, and I feel.
Are you saying movies right now are too fast paced? You're saying there's no real breathing.
Movies are too fast today. They're too like our equivalent.
Old man yells at cloud. Bloody movies! They're just the frame rate's too high.
They're way too fast. Like, the equivalent of this today is like movies that are just whizzing past to try and keep you entertained and keep you engaged as much as possible. And I think that's just, it's too much. Like, it's it's gotten boring and stale, and I don't find myself going to the movies in blockbuster season as nearly as much anymore, just because I know what I'm getting, and what I'm getting is just kind of a whirlwind of stuff.
Quips and very quick character arcs.
Exactly. Yeah. So
no, I feel you. Speaking of which, actually, look at what Darth Vader wrote on YouTube: Nebula versus Gamora in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2.
What the fuck?
Have you seen that movie? Guardians?
No, I haven't.
There's a scene where I don't know if anyone's seen this movie. If where Nebula and Gamora, they're both fighting each other, and there's a point when Nebula gets in the plane, like a spaceship plane, and chases Gamora, and it's an exact copy of that scene from North by Northwest.
Really? That's
yeah.
funny.
So Gamora's running towards the camera, and Nebula's in this like spaceship trying to shoot her down from the sky, and like Gamora's like trying to hide from her. So like Marvel's copying the good shit, Brenton.
Yeah, man. James Gunn, he's getting in there. He wants to emulate North by Northwest.
Of course.
So James Matthews says he shouldn't have picked up that knife.
No, he shouldn't have, Brenton. Jesus, even now thinking about it, what an idiot. Oh.
Guys, if you can take anything away from this episode or this film, please take this. If you're at the scene of a crime, unfortunately, do not pick up the murder weapon in a way that would give away that you might have just killed this person, even though you didn't. You know, don't be suspicious. Just call the police. You know, look at what's happened and call the police and say, I think he went that way, and leave it at that.
Jeez. Yeah, it's like basics. It's like 101. It's like, come on.
Well, Nathan, that was North by Northwest.
That was North by Northwest. So, yeah, mate, what a movie. What a great film, you know. I'm so glad we're back in Hitchcock territory, only just to leave it immediately for 7 seasons next week. So,
hey, man, that's what we do. We cover so many different films and topics, man, on this show that it keeps us on our toes. You know, we maybe one day again soon. I hope so, that we'll get to return to Hitchcock and review something else.
There's still so many Hitchcock films we need to do. But yeah, let us know what your favorite Hitchcock film is. Like, I'd love to know if this is top of the list.
This is Classic Movie Banter. You can find us on Twitter. You can find us on I nearly said Spotify, but you can't find us there.
Not yet. I'm
working
SoundCloud. On it. I know. Everyone, shut up. I'm working on it. We're going to get on Spotify at some point.
SoundCloud. I always go to say iTunes, but it's not iTunes anymore. It's the podcast app. You can find us on YouTube. They just banned iTunes. Yeah, man. You can find us on YouTube. You can send us an email. Guys, contact us. We love to hear from you. It makes our weeks so much better.
It does. Oh, thank you, everyone. Thank you. Thank you, Brenton.
No, thank you, Nathan. What a fun time it is talking about old movies with you. I couldn't get enough of it. You know what I mean?
No, same. I know. Well, actually, I could. That's why
I could probably as well. If we had to review a fucking Bond film every week, I don't think I'd be. I think we would have got to episode 5 of this podcast, and I would have said I'm done and thrown in the towel.
Bye.
But yeah.
Well, Brenton, no, it's been lovely chatting, but like, they're still after you, mate. You still got the knife in your hand. I gotta get the fuck out of the United Nations right now.
Nathan, I think I could see like a crop duster, but like we're on the streets of Sydney. Like, what is that? Oh my god! It's trying to run me down.
No! Run!